Hello there, YouTube. We are back with a new video for you guys. I'm joined by the majority of the crew here. I've got TJ, RB, and Rio.
Hey, what's up?
We're here to kind of compile a little bit of a meta report. You know, we've got a good amount of BT-16 events under our belt now. We just wrapped up our first in-person regionals over in Illinois, and I think we've got a good amount of data points to kind of talk about and just review, you know, where the meta is at. There's a lot of discussion going on right now about a certain couple of decks, which we will touch upon as the video goes on. But I think there are a lot of things that, you know, we want to bring to the table, talk about, pose these questions, and just sort of spark discussion within the community. And what better time to do it after we've wrapped up a regional? Before we hop into the video itself, a couple of things. First and foremost, a huge and major shout out to everybody that we met at the Peoria regionals this past weekend. Everybody that came up to us, talked to us, gave us like warm words of support, and just gave us a quick shout out. We really do appreciate every one of you. It was awesome getting to meet some of you, and it was just really cool to see the community grow and, you know, see everybody just become a part of it. It was just really awesome, you know. So if you did that to us, we appreciate it. And we look forward to meeting some of you all at future events, whether it be Nats, other regionals, whatever. Last couple of things before we hop into the video is, if you are new to the channel and haven't hit that like and subscribe button yet, please consider doing so. And lastly, check out our socials, which will be linked down in the video description below. It includes our Twitter, our Instagram, our Discord. Just great ways to keep interacting with us and getting to know us, and we hope to see you guys there. But without further ado, let's start talking some decks here. We'll probably start off. We did want to do a quick shout out to one deck, but we're gonna kind of work our way up the ladder here. We'll start off with one deck, which is a shout out to Red Purple Imperial, which I think Rio and I both played at Peoria.
Yeah, definitely.
Two separate players, and just absolutely crazy deck. If you want to kind of chime in, Rio.
Yeah, it was just so I guess looking back, right, the biggest problem with Red Purple Imperial was the consistency issue. I feel like we could all agree on that. It was just like you had to hit your pieces. If you don't, you kind of stuck in the water and you hope to draw it. But with the inclusion of like the new Wormmon and all the new support, it was just always gas. Like, especially with my opponent, he piloted it super well, and it was super consistent, ran amazingly, and it definitely gave my Magna X deck a straight run for its money. So
new Dino Beamon with Partition and I think the old Imperial spitting out the rookies, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, and then you have the fact that also, you know, he's able to spit out another body and just give it rush. It's just an extra swing potentially.
Yeah,
that can just cause you to have to like really, you know, debate the block or whatnot. Yeah, no, I think probably just just goes right up there. It's just chilling. So, you know, when looking over this stuff, this is, and just to kind of reference this is our old, for people that don't recognize, this is our list from before when we did the BT-16 predictions tier list before BT-16 dropped. This is where we assumed everything would land on the ladder, and I think for the most part we were pretty accurate.
I'd say so.
There's a few things that we're going to be moving around. That's why we're doing this whole thing. But yeah, so that kind of starts there, and I think that's the only thing that moves. And Magna X feels weak, man. I think with everything else stays the same. I think we're all in agreement there. Everything else just doesn't deal with anything above it.
They get gate kept, and that's pretty much it.
I mean, that being said, the Gallant player I played against in round 1, he actually did end up winning the next 3 rounds after he lost to me. Because Gallant is pretty decent, so
Well, I mean, I think it does decent against Nume. Like, if you end up playing against a lot of Nume mod, like, Gallant does well.
It's so much control. Yeah, absolutely. They have so much pop that it goes off. So I'm gonna just scoot that up, just because I think that's fine. I think honestly, probably better than Melga.
Yeah.
Pilot oriented. I think we're all in agreement that nothing really moves here. This is all pretty good. I mean, if anything would move, it maybe be Machine, because Machine did top. But I think from what we were told, he also didn't face Imperial all day, which is his worst matchup. Because I mean, if Machine runs into Imperial, they just source strip you to high heaven.
It wasn't until the very end,
right? Which is, I think, is the game he lost, right?
Yeah, the game he lost at the end, but he still got that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's still amazing. It's still an impeccable record. And there's still a lot of decks that you have to contend with. It's not easy by any means. But when you avoid your worst matchup, it just goes to show how how mean Imperial is to Machine, when that's really all Machine needs is just to not run into that deck. And it can do stuff like that. And then, of course, have a very good pilot. So I would actually just bump it there.
Okay.
I think that's fine. Still, I think it's still pilot oriented. I think it's just a little bit better than some of the other decks that, you know, even if they are piloted well, just they still can't kind of gap certain things. Okay. Whoop. And then we're on to Rogue Sleeper picks.
Yeah, I mean, I think the majority of the stuff will stay. There are a few movements that we'll see here. I think just kind of going down the list that we have, I think Levia moves down. Mainly because it just gets shuttled out of the meta. Like, there's not a whole lot it can do against a lot of the top tier decks.
Do we... I know we talked about it a little bit. Do we think that it moves down to Magna X feels weak man, or does it just move down in Rogue Sleeper picks?
I think it just moves down. But that being said, I think Magna X also just shuts it down.
Just having one big body that I can't really deal with. It's
it's like they can proc all the effects they want to, but it's not gonna really go anywhere.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
And with Armor Purge being a way to kind of dodge deletion, like Levia just sort of is like,
makes it very hard. Not to mention all the stuff that just doesn't care about being deleted right now.
Right.
Okay. So I think we're cool there. I think we all agree the other two decks and Rogue Sleeper picks that need to move up were Phoenix X. I'd honestly toss it up here, and then Blue Flare even above that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Your Blue Flare build kind of goes burr.
Yeah, I think Jess, honestly, I don't know if we had anybody playing it, we'd probably need to ask Jorel. He'd probably know.
Well, from what he was saying, no one piloted it at the regional because he kept his eye out.
Shame. It's such a shame, man. Because I feel like if you pilot this with Magna X, dude, you need a high roll, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
That goes crazy with it.
So I know when we were driving home, he was saying that he was kind of disappointed, and not that Jess X wasn't played, because it's like, he's disappointed because he's like, oh, it could have been me. I could have been the Jess X play if they're doing well. But at the same time, it's like he wanted the result finding, right? He just wanted to see how it would do in other people's hands, just to see how it would do in the current meta.
Yeah. And then I think
Blue Flare does do well too. Like, if you're going up against Nume, who likes to wideboard with not like a big stack, you're able to do a lot of damage that way and kind of proc your effects and get some sneaky damage in. It still struggles, I think, against Valk Ace and Venusmon, but I still think it can do some damage for sure.
And the thing is too, is if you catch Vaccine Armor or V Armor on a turn where they're not able to proc their protections, you can just stop them from being able to block you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For a swing at least, and sometimes that swing could be the game-ending swing. Like if you got them to 0 security, they don't have a means of proccing their protection.
Yeah, and I think speaking of protection too, it's probably the one blue deck that has the most logical access to Vike Ace, which is a really nasty card as well.
Yes, absolutely. Vike Ace is really, really good. And then for birds, as we've sort of shown on the recent videos, I know there were some misplays here and there, but overall, like, birds still can go crazy. It still does insane stuff. Being able to resolve all their undeletions as end of attack effects without actually losing the stack, and even if they lose the stack, just being able to play so many things out, it just goes crazy right now.
Yeah.
Right. And there's still plenty of deletion in them, because the only thing that's really bouncing in the meta right now is Imperial and Mirage.
Yeah.
Because even Rapid, like Terrier Tribal is deleting usually off DP reduction or swinging into things.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as a Tyrant bottom decks things.
Oh yeah, true. Tyrant does bottom deck things, but even then, also Tyrant tends to just swing into things a lot too.
Yeah.
To gain memory.
You are right in the most part that the meta is a very deletion heavy meta.
Yeah. So I think that honestly plays pretty well into what Birds wants, because then you kind of just give them what they want a little bit.
It can be very scary.
Yeah, for sure. So I think I think that's all good there. I'd actually probably even move Red Purple Imperial over Dorgora right now, because Dorgora just doesn't have the same sort of aggression that Red Purple Imperial can offer when they go up their line.
I think for birds, one of the things that I'm seeing is it does have that boogeyman and Imperial like Machine Dramon.
Oh, true. That's true. Yes.
But Machine Dramon or Imperial has to have the turn where it strips the sources or bounces. And birds having the on or the end of attack addition, if they have like the Harpymon or the X-Antibody underneath. The Harpy X, that's correct?
No, you're thinking of Garuda, not Harpy.
Garuda. Oh yeah, okay.
The Garuda X.
Harpy's the armor form for
Silver.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Salar or whatever.
Or Phoenix X. I'm sorry. Right.
Yeah, Phoenix X. Well, Garuda X is the inheritable. Phoenix X is the one that activates. That's your new boss monster.
Yeah, the end of attack. Right.
Right. Turns all your undeletion effects gain end of attack as well as a.
So if they have that one turn where they get to activate all of those, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I think that's a pretty good summary of like the rogue sleeper picks. I think we can probably start moving on to the big boys, contenders, and the meta-defining decks.
Yeah, I think everything's good there.
Let's go.
Contenders. So working our way up. I think we were mostly accurate about this.
I think so.
With what we were talking about before. I think we all agreed Fenry moves down a little behind Imperial. I think Imperial actually probably moves to the top of contenders.
I would say so. Yeah.
I think it's like right on the cusp of meta defining as well. Like we had a good amount of tops at Peoria with Imperial too. Comparatively.
Yeah. It only did it have one or two tops?
Two. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Two top 16.
Okay.
Which in a meta that's been like 11 Nume and Magna X.
Yeah,
still
that's
like
a lot of stuff.
Still big.
Which even Vaccine Armor only had one top this one time, which is crazy. But yeah, so okay, yeah, I agree with all that. I think it borderlines. I think it's definitely a gatekeeper for meta defining decks. But I think that it still can be very sort of. It can struggle with these top decks.
Yeah,
still.
for sure, for sure.
I know there's a lot of debate because I think I'm just scarred by Mirage because of you, Ben.
Yeah,
because everybody I meet's like, what do you mean? Imperial has a great matchup into Mirage, and I'm just like, I don't know if y'all have played a good Mirage player. Because that doesn't matter what I do or what I try. Even if I stall for a turn, it still hurts. And also, like every Imperial person was running like the draw egg and draw inheritables. So they must have just been missing Mirage plays.
I beat two Imperials pretty handedly. I think for that reason, I think a lot of people think the fact that you can blanket effect to say nothing unsuspends does hurt Mirage a lot, but as long as you can survive another turn and just ensure yourself that sort of window, you don't really care, because most often than not, you're just gaining 3-4 memory off of a BT-11 Mirage and then a burst mode, and then you just go up to 10 memory, and they really can't do anything after that.
And even if they're sitting on dragon mode to try and like stop you from using trainings, you usually have memory boosts as well as inheritables to gain memory, so you don't even really need it all the time.
Yeah,
I think it's definitely a matchup that's that depends on like who's seeing pieces.
Yeah, that for sure.
But yeah.
So I think that's good there. I think the one other thing we did agree on, I think move Red Hybrid down. Red Hybrid just isn't. It's still good. I think it's still good. Like even like our buddy Goldie, he's been playing it over in Colorado, local stuff. Yeah. He's running the Uko engine and everything like that, and he's doing pretty well with it. But just people don't seem to be playing it that much right now, I don't think.
Yeah, I think the big problem is like it's not that it's bad; it's that everything has gotten better.
Yeah, I agree.
And the cards the cards for it are considerably older.
Yeah, so. it's still.
Yeah. I think the one thing that does move out of contenders is is the more traditional yellow vaccine. I think we move that all the way down to, honestly, maybe
a little. Yeah, you're probably right
down there.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you play that when you can play armor vaccine? You know?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, really, it probably shouldn't even be on this list. This should just be armor vaccine, and I should move stuff around picture wise. But this is a list we had before because we were testing stuff.
I think you could probably just say it's like Angel Vaccine, right? Like the more traditional.
Yeah.
Kinda. Well, I mean, we could say that, but we also get a bunch of Angel Vaccine stuff next format. So,
Which still
something
kind of
else, but
falls
yeah.
under Magna X feels weak.
it actually does a lot better
Better
because
but not great.
you get ways to wideboard. Is
That
the
is
thing.
true. That is true. That is true.
And I would say it does good. I still wouldn't say great, but it does good. I would probably put that version of it higher up, but we'll go over that when that time comes. Anyways, but I think the rest of this looks good. I think Wargrey is still a good option into a lot of these decks. It's just it can brick very hard.
Yeah.
It might need to move it down. but-
Yeah, I know. When I saw it across the
Rogue
table from
Sleeper.
me, I was like, oh, this man's about to push my stuff in, and I was like, oh, he just
Maybe
bricked.
even-
Oh well.
Honestly, I'd probably put Sylphie down here, and I would put it like right there.
Yeah. I think I agree
yeah,
with
I
that.
mean that's fine.
Ben's hurting on the Sylphie movie.
No,
There-
I mean
there-
no. It's fun, but it's
It's not doing much right now. Even there's people that played it. Like I think I heard of 2 or 3 people that were playing it, but they were all like, they were at very high tables.
well.
like, not like
I mean,
not
I
one or
think
two. They were like
I
sitting
think
around
this
the
sort of
s-
transitions into what we're going to be talking about next, right? Which is sort of the 4 decks that we have here meta defining. Is
Yeah.
that everything below contenders has a very difficult time overcoming these 4 decks right here.
right.
And
And we'll-
go ahead.
Before you get too far, before you keep saying 4 decks,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
I
um,
agree there.
I think the V Armors is not a meta defining deck anymore. Genuinely, I think that V Armors, while it's spooky, it has access to Magna X. It's not meta defining.
Yeah.
I think that Vaccine Armors is more meta defining than it is. I think it is just a contender amongst those.
And
It doesn't do what vaccine does.
And
Yeah.
this is a hot
Yes.
take. This is a hot take. I almost would say meta defining should be 2 decks.
Yeah.
I think we
would
take Mirage out. As painful
Okay.
as it is for me to say it, I think you take it out.
I say
No,
we.
I honestly, I agree with you. I just didn't want to hurt your feelings, so I wasn't going to say anything.
I think you know.
Because
The
I knew that
reason
I had a
say
feeling.
it is not just because I didn't do as well as I wanted to, but I think just play testing against these decks, right? We talked about this on the car ride back. It's that these
Yeah.
2 decks have a very finite window. Like before, where we saw BT-15 was like a huge diversity of decks being able to pop off, was that you kind of had the window to like have a dead turn, right? Like if you didn't have the pieces you need, or you're kind of bricked a little bit, you could like survive for a turn or 2 and still be fine as long as you were able to like finagle your way out of it. Here it's like you can't afford a dead turn against Nume or Magna, because if you have a dead turn, they absolutely just wipe the floor with you. And for a deck that is very OTK piece reliant like Mirage, if you're missing like a piece and you just search and you miss, it's pretty much
Yeah.
game over.
Like if
Right.
you're missing burst mode, it's
Yeah.
hard. You can stall maybe, but it's hard.
When these 2 decks pop off on their pop off turns, if you do not have a single answer to
You're stuck.
that, it's the game is done. Like
Yeah, you're
there's
literally
no-
at their mercy.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Like in BT-15, like if I were missing like a level 4 or level 5, I honestly wasn't too afraid. I could be like, you know what? I'll play a tamer, choke to 1, and I'll be fine, right? Or I'll play like a training, and I'll just like
I have a
wait
little bit
for
of
the right
time,
time.
basically.
Right.
You basically.
But now,
have that
like if
turn
I
where you don't have
put
to be
Nume
super
to
crazy.
1, it doesn't matter. They push up Uko and Louis, and they're up to like 3 or 4 memories. Same thing with Vaccine. They push up a Pada,
Yeah.
and they go from
Yeah.
run all the way up to like 4 or 5 memory. It doesn't matter anymore.
There
They're
was
just
so many
done.
times this weekend where I just pushed up Pada and I went from like 3 because I had memory set out to like shooting up to like 8 memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that and I kind of no, I didn't say anything, but I sneakily sort of moved Nume to the front.
Yeah.
I think that everyone was so worried about Magna X and focused on Magna X. And we all knew Nume was a good deck, right?
Mhm.
Even during the predictions one, I was saying like this guy is terrifying. It rolls so fast. And I think that it's really cemented its spot there. It's really like from just the past couple of events we've had for regionals, and even just some of the tops that have been going on during this current meta. It just wideboards so fast because of the Uko engine when paired with the ability to float because of Nume X, on top of having Security Tech Plus because of the Monze inheritables, and then Monze X to help you wideboard, having access to things like Valkyrie Ace and Edamon. to just force your opponent to basically swing into their own death as a combo. There's so many tools this deck has access to that it goes crazy. And because it's so aggressive, it can just win games by turn 2, turn 3 sometimes that are just insane if you give them too much memory.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where Vaccine Armors, because Vaccine Armors is very strong. It is definitely meta defining. However, if Pata whiffs, you are done. you are probably in the worst spot of your life you ever could be. Because you know you get to evil for 4. Oh, I'm right there with you, brother. So but to get back to what you were saying before, I think that our contenders lineup is pretty accurate. I think you're right about Mirage. I think it does move down. I think it is top of contenders. I would still put it above Imperial personally.
I think that's just TJ. That might be TJ being scarred.
But but Ben also beat 2 Imperial players.
That's true.
From what I know, a lot of people that were playing Imperial, they don't play against Mirage often because Mirage isn't played very often.
Yeah. I'd say the 2 decks are interchangeable, but I think
no. I mean,
I can see the argument for sure.
I definitely see the argument. I don't want to sound like arrogant, but I'm not afraid of Imperial. If I'm playing Mirage, I think you kind of have to pilot. You have to know, and you have to be able to like recognize scenarios. And if you can do that, you are fine against Imperial. Like you're not too afraid.
There's a lot.
Hard agree.
There's a lot of player skill in the matchup for sure.
Hard agree. But yeah, I think we all agree that those 2 decks are definitely the most meta-defining decks right now. Being Vaccine Armors and Nume. It's just.
I mean, we've had multiple regionals thus far, not just in North America. We've had North American regionals, we've had LATAM regionals, and we've had Oceania. Granted, LATAM is always a little bit funky with their decks, and I know Mirage ended up taking LATAM regionals, but there's still a good amount of Nume represented, and I think in North America, every regional thus far has been taken by Nume, and top 16 has always been 50% plus Nume. And Oceania was also Nume. So it's clearly, and JP, I mean, it's still doing very well in JP. It did very well in JP for BT-16 too. So, I mean, it's clearly very well equipped. So
far for BT-16, going off of Eggman events right now, we have had 7 regionals for BT-16 since June 1st.
Yeah.
Of those regionals, 4 of them are more than 50% Nume in the top.
Jesus.
Yeah. The rest of them do have at least 2 or 3 Nume decks in their top placements. Even if they didn't win it. But like, I mean, we know. This I guess also some of these are some of the other like creator events. They're not full regionals. There's been there's a case tourney, regional, win a box, an open event, and then the regional.
But at least 2 of the regionals.
Yeah.
50% representation.
Two of the regionals were over 50%, and then the 2 winner boxes were both 50%. The other opens were in the case tourney were a couple, and then the Brisbane regionals were only I think 2 or 3. But yeah, so the point stands. Nume is consistently up there. He's consistently dominating. Vaccine Armors is also up there as well. Because
if anything,
to show that off more usually.
Anything, it's just like a boogeyman for every other deck.
Yeah. I mean, the DP.
Go ahead.
The DP minus being able to linger into opponent's turn is also just so scary. It's super hard. Correct. It's just Nume has all the tools it needs right now to consistently stay in the meta.
And I mean, this might be to be like devil's advocate, right? And I'm not saying I agree with this statement, but I think some of this may also be accentuated in the sense that we were coming off of a BT-15 format that was so diverse, where like any big tournament you went to, you don't really know what was going to come out on top because every deck sort of had a chance to a degree, right? And it was also pretty stale, not gonna lie. But now we're coming to a meta that's like almost a complete opposite, where it's just like, you know that Nume and Vaccine are probably going to be both heavily represented and also just they're going to be gatekeeping everybody else.
Yeah, it's.
So I think
I
that's
mean,
just
around
even
them.
more like it just feels even more accentuated that way.
Yeah, I agree.
It-
I think
Early
Go,
format.
go ahead, RB.
I think it's early format too, so people know what's the strongest decks right now, and that's what they're gonna pilot.
Well, I don't. It's not even really early format. We're halfway through. More than. It's
60, yeah.
We have EX6 coming up, so
We have the X6
I mean,
coming
it's-
up, and we're not gonna get a whole lot of additions. I think outside of what like 7 Great Demon Lords.
7 Great
and
Demon
maybe,
Lords
like,
is the
Journey
biggest
into the
threat
West.
out of that set. Journey to the West is not very good, but it's fun. I like
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
The biggest things are Diaboro
oh yeah,
does
that's
do
right,
some
that's right,
stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the rest of the stuff, and then the biggest things is 7 Great Demon Lords and the 3 Great Angels, because then we get a bunch of new level 6 ace cards for yellow that are all go crazy. And then yellow Vaccine Angels is honestly a pretty good deck. But 7 Great Demon Lords is by far the biggest threat out of there because Oguda is an insane card, and even just then, the what those Demon Lords can do, what the new cards can do, just goes crazy.
Ooga booga.
Ooga booga.
I'm excited for the Demon Lord.
So that will mix up stuff a bit. But yeah, it.
We'll
I don't
see
know.
how much changes.
Because the biggest thing with NA usually or North America is that a lot of times we tend to play the best decks in format. Look at
I was about to say that. Yeah.
that's usually like Japan usually gets like new shiny syndrome. Like LATAM tends to do like really weird and unorthodox stuff, and even Oceania does the same too. But then like North America is just like,
we're sweaty
how-
mofos out here.
how can I go crazy? And I just want to win. like
Yeah.
the blue hybrid, epidemic was a perfect example of this. When blue hybrid was just
Yeah.
rampant.
And that's the thing, like North America and Japan are like that with every game. No matter what game I've played, it's always been the case.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're of the mindset that if it's not broken, we don't fix it. You know?
And
Like,
yeah.
arguably too, like
it's working. Just
I think-
keep playing it.
I think it's Americans just want to win. We like coming out on top.
Yeah. More importantly, it's not if it's not broken, we don't fix it. If it's not broken, we don't play it.
Hey, that's true. That's also true.
And I mean, if this is your way to get your Nats invite, I feel like most people will be like, 100%, this is what we're gonna play.
Yeah.
Like, why play anything else? If this is our
Let's
best
sweat
chance
it
to
out.
do
Yeah,
it,
yes.
let's just do it. Because I
Agreed.
mean, shout out to Nate, my buddy Nate, who did really, really well at this past regional, who was undefeated going into the last round, which no comment there. But shout out to him. I mean, he played a hell of a tournament, and Nick did too. I mean, both players did really, really well to get where they needed to
Yes.
be. And they both piloted the hell out of Nume. But Nate was, he basically was just like, I don't enjoy the deck, but like if this is my way to get a Nats invite, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I
And
remember him
we did
saying that, and it really stood out to me because he was like, "Do I like what I had to do to get here? Yes. Am I glad I'm here? No, but do I like that I'm here? Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love you, buddy.
But yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up for our opinions on this. I think that's kind of
think
this
so.
is where things are now. If people are curious, this is how we feel the meta looks right now. I think it is a lot unhealthier than BT-15 was.
I agree.
Yeah.
But-
When do we get BT-17 again? That's
August
July,
9th.
August 9th. Okay.
Yeah, so we get EX6 June 28th, and then we ride that EX6 BT-16 meta until August 9th.
Yeah, so we do
all
have
July
a
and, like,
couple.
first
We
week
have
of August.
we have a regional and an ultimate cup coming up at the beginning of July, and I think another in-person regional in California towards the end of July. So I think at least 3 major tournaments to see sort of how this shifts potentially, or if it just stays the same. So we'll probably try to do a wrap-up video towards the end of the BT-16 EX6 meta just to kind of summarize where things are and
Yeah.
maybe give 2 cents as to like where we think BT-17 will take us. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully some good information about where we're at in this meta and what we foresee being sort of continued forces at play. Drop a comment too if you feel like there's anything different, or you feel like we may have missed something, or you disagree with something that we said. We'd love to kind of just interact and kind of shoot the proverbial crap with you, and see what we can come up with.
Get the proverbial lume.
But yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for all the support. We really do appreciate it. And hopefully we catch you on the next video. Bye bye.